In the last 10 years, 2 million Zimbabweans have migrated to South Africa. Many of them taking huge risks to get across the border illegally. Among them have been tens of thousands of children, traveling alone into a dangerous and uncertain future. So what drives them? In this episode of Africa Investigates, journalist Stanley Kwenda goes undercover to reveal the story behind Zimbabwe's child exodus.
My name is Stanley Kwenda, and I am a Zimbabwean investigative journalist. I'm on a journey to discover why so many of my country's children are running away from their homes and families to travel illegally and alone into a dangerous and uncertain future. For those hoping to get illegally into South Africa, they must first come here to the frontier town of Beitbridge. Beyond here is the famous Limpopo River, which the children have to cross to get over the border. Julia and Juliet are not sisters, but their story is exactly the same. 2 years ago, their parents died of AIDS. Now, these 14-year-olds are runaways. They have just each other and their dreams of a new life in South Africa to keep them going. I want to travel with them on their journey. But I have to be careful. Although we have permission to film, using a camera too openly in Zimbabwe will get you arrested. Like many of the child runaways, Julia and Juliet come from the province of Masvingo, and this is where my investigation begins. I want to understand what drives these children away from their homes. These spoiled dumps are all that's left of an asbestos mine. This industrial wasteland reminds everyone in Mashawa village of the times when this whole region was doing okay. There was a dispute between President Mugabe's government and the mine's owner. The mine closed and poverty came to everyone's door. Petronella and Concilia are first cousins. Like Julia and Juliet, back in Beitbridge, their parents died of AIDS. For the last 3 years, they've been living with their 80-year-old grandmother. 14. I've come here to stay with them, to see what it's like to live in such poverty. There are 60 other AIDS orphans living in this village, and 8 more, including Petronella's brother, who have already run away to South Africa.
Uchiri rutariro here kuti padamwe musi upenyu uchanaka wodzokera kuda pahwai baba namai vachiripo uchiri netariro yacho iyoyo.
Unogona chinjaona kuti unogona kuenda chikoro ukadzidzawo ukaona chinokubatsira chete unogona kuita basa uri kupa mari kuti urarame.
Getting enough food to eat is the daily struggle for hundreds of thousands of children in my country.
Okay.
The vegetables are tiny, and this meal is bigger than usual because I'm a guest. What a life.
Saganai Concilia Kurukuti aunambofunga kuda kuteera hanzvadzi yako ku South Africa. Okay. saka manje amugariwo here muchirohwa nehana kuti pada mumwe musi munozongoona vamwe vazukuru venyu vasara vasisipo vaendawo kuSouth Africa?
Handisi mufungwa ndingatenguza kuti nitsvaka mari pamwe ifungwa akapiwa mari ine handisi mhana kana ndokureka ndoti handiri kuzipa BP.
As I drive south, back to Beit Bridge, to see what's happened to Julia and Juliet, I remember when escaping Zimbabwe was my only option too. 3 years ago, I wrote a story about a powerful policeman and the deaths of a number of election protesters. When it was published, they came after me.
It was around January, the river was full. There we were with these two guys. One was in front of us, the other one was at the back. And they were saying, where we are now, there's no going back. For me, I had no problem. At that moment, I was not even thinking about the crocodiles. I just wanted to go onto the other side of the river.
This great Limpopo River, it makes the 230-kilometer border between my country and South Africa. Either side, there are police and military patrols. In the old days, in the old South Africa, it was really difficult to get through. But today, if you know the right people, it's easier, especially now in the dry season. Back in Beit Bridge, Julia and Juliet need $50 each to pay the local smugglers known as Magumagumas for a safe crossing. I want to know more about their story, but every time I want to talk to them, I have to take them somewhere quiet so that others don't see the camera.
Why did you leave home?
I was starving there. My grandmother refused me to go to school, so I became sad and I just say I'm going to look for my job and I'll just do better than you.
And how does that make you feel, not being able to go to school?
I'm not feeling well. Because I see people who have education, they are doctors, nurses, they are pilots, so I didn't feel well.
So now here in Beit Bridge, where are you living?
I'm living with the man who take me at the taxi rank and said we have 30 rand only, and he told me that I want you to live with me, working for me, selling eggs and frozen. If you work, I will go with you at South Africa.
So how are you going to go?
I don't know. But that man, we told him that we don't have passports, both of us. He said, I will go with you, don't worry.
Who is this man?
His name is called Ian. I don't know where he comes from, but I just met him at the taxi rank.
And he takes people to South Africa?
Yes.
Just over there is Sokisimba. I've just heard that this is where most of the human smugglers hang around. So I'm just going to have a look if I can meet some of them.
Hello? How are you? I'm alright. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah. How is it?
Yeah, alright.
This is Ian. This is the guy Julia and Juliet are living with. He's a human trafficker, or a maguma as they are called around here. As a group of people, they have a terrible reputation. We've been told stories about robberies, rapes, even killings. We're filming this at midday. The party seems to start early around here. Hanging around the bar is a boy we don't recognize. His name is Joseph. Later, he will become very important to our story. What happened next was a big surprise. Ian was so friendly that I told him I was interested in filming the whole people smuggling business, and he offered to show me his smuggling route. I'm hoping to get a chance to ask him about the Maguma Guma's terrible reputation.
So I go into the main road.
Yeah. Somebody use this one.
This one.
Yeah,
Don't you empathize with the children? Don't you feel sorry for them that maybe you can just help them cross?
Yes, I'm saying sorry for I'm saying sorry for those children, but nothing I can do. You see, my friend, and me too. I'm hungry, like those children.
They say you rape these children.
Not mine. Those kumakumas. If you go alone to the river, yes, they rape you.
After the interview, Ian showed me the smuggling routes. I can't work him out. On one hand, he's an illegal child smuggler, and on the other, he says he protects the children from other dangerous Maguma Gumas who would rob or rape them. But I need to keep on good terms with Ian if we are going to cross into South Africa with Julia and Juliet. So it's later, and we've just heard that Julia and Juliet look like they are doing the crossing tomorrow morning. We've come to visit Ian wearing a secret camera. I want to check the girls are okay and make sure Ian will take us on the crossing as well.
No, we just want to go. How do we go? We just want tomorrow morning. Right now? No, tomorrow morning. Yeah, tomorrow morning to go, no problem. If we go by then, no problem. What time? Is it by 5 o'clock?
We've just been told that we should wait here, the car will come and pick us up. As soon as you got to
ndakazama kuti ndirarame nenzira dzipi zvakaramba saka nditi nditry ungotry.
Okay. Paganaka.
Where's the extra woman?
Before we go, Ian wants me to pay for our passage. Me and my director, $100. He also wants extra for security. We squeeze into a small Toyota. These days, smugglers prefer small cars because they are less suspicious to the police. Juliet sits in front, next to Ian, while Julia is next to me. Ian is very alert, instructing the driver on the best route to take. Then, everything starts to go wrong. We've been busted.
Can I see your ID or anything?
Yeah.
All of you. You are detectives and said that you are just check the page of robbery here.
Okay. Yeah, that's my ID.
Ian is calm because he's used to this game. This should have been a routine roadblock, but we have handed our identification documents, and they now know that my director and I are journalists. Ian has been through many roadblocks like this before. Normally, he would pay a bribe, and the girls would be on their way to the border. Now Ian and the others are trying to drive off and leave us. We have become a liability, but the car stops up the road. The police have found our main camera in the boot, and things are getting complicated. I actually have 2 secret cameras running, and the police are very suspicious. The CID are very tough, and if they find the secret cameras, we could be in a lot of trouble. I turned both the cameras off. They found one of the secret cameras. I keep the other one running. Then they accused us of being spies. That's when we decided to tell the detectives what we are really doing here. That we are after the bad guys, just like they are. It works. but we are not getting our camera back. And before we are free, we need to pay some money.
To talk to them, but what I'm saying, if you delay, somebody's going to come others. If others come here, it's going to take us one time just to shut off nothing.
No, but the money, they're talking still.
All right, talk to them.
Yeah.
It was a tense moment. Some of the young girls that we were with were thinking of running away, even the magumagumas themselves. But we managed to calm our nerves, although it was really a very tense moment. We were still wondering how we managed to get out of the situation. But unfortunately, we couldn't go to the river crossing because it was getting dark, and the magumagumas decided that we cross tomorrow morning.
A very big risk.
There.
The next morning, and we are waiting for Julia and Juliet. We find Julia. She tells us that yesterday's experience with the police has scared Juliet so much she doesn't want to cross today. And Julia is going nowhere without her friend. But after our meeting with the CID, it's time for us to move on. Ian has another customer. It's Joseph, the boy we had seen outside the bar. We are going to cross with him. This is his second crossing into South Africa. The first time he was robbed of everything and he had to come back to Beitbridge and start again. That's taken him 8 months of work to make the $50 he needs for the crossing. At the river, Ian is alert. We've just trying to cross now, and the guys have just been showing us where we are going to be crossing. All of us are looking out for police or military on both sides of the river.
They've stopped.
No, stop.
This is it, and we are here. We are in South Africa. Now Ian calls for the transport to take us to Messina, the town where we'll be dropped off, about 20 kilometers from here. But we've got to be careful.
Sit down.
Ian has organized for us to travel on a lorry that transports farm workers. The South African Army doesn't check them, and we have a clear route to Messina. This place is so different from Zimbabwe. People here have money, it's well organized, and it's free. But it's no place for a young boy from Zimbabwe on his own. Illegal refugees are resented here.
Afrika Messina urunzwa sei?
Ndakufara ndasvika Messina.
Sei urunzwa kufara?
Nekuti ndasvika Messina. Uye makanaka futi.
Makanaka ere Messina?
Nyanya
kufadza parish mechi.
Ndechekuti ndasvika kuSouth.
Ichi chaungati wewe dai vanga vari vapenyu. Chaungadai waiti zvingadai zvakasiyana nepari zvinobva vasi.
Dai vari vapenyu ngadai ndirikumba.
Wakafamba mushe? I'm really concerned with Joseph. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with him. I've just asked him if he's okay. He's telling me he's okay, but he doesn't really look okay.
Now, Joseph reveals he's not completely alone in South Africa. There is an older brother who's 16 years old. 2 years ago, he also crossed illegally.
All right. Yeah.
Joseph borrows my phone to contact him.
Hello. Ndini Joshua yamutori. Ndiri kubesina. Munouya rini? All right. Ndiri kuuya ndichakufonera mai manje.
Ari kufona back.
Hello. Vandinawo vanondipa foni kuti titaure nemu. Vari kuti ndichakufona izvizvi. Vari kuti ndichakufona izvizvi vaimbomirai.
His brother is saying he will call him back. It seems like he can't speak to him now. I don't really know what's happening on the other end.
It's getting late. Joseph's brother hasn't called back, and he's going to need somewhere to stay. We've heard about a nearby center for refugee children. He's not happy about going there, but he has agreed he'll have to.
All right, Andy.
This is the Mighty Hand Community Center. It's largely paid for by South African government funds, and Joseph is this home's 107th resident.
Yeah, I think here in South Africa is quite a new phenomenon. It's something which we've never experienced, and as such, because it's all a new experience to us to say children that child migrants. Even the department themselves, it's also a learning curve.
For these child runaways, all their dreams have led them to a sparse dormitory in a foreign land. This first day of Joseph's new life should be more of a celebration. But it's a flaw when new arrivals like Joseph must rest their weary bodies after a day that he and I will remember for the rest of our lives.
Pandauya kuno ndaifungidzira kuti pamwe ndichagara zvakanaka, ndichivatawo pakanaka, pasingazipasi, nekuti andingakwanisi kugara ndega kana ndisina mukoma, ndisina hama yandinogara nayo pamba.
At least Joseph is safe. Thousands more like him won't be. A lucky few might find a better life in South Africa, but others will simply disappear. What has my country come to that despair and poverty are forcing children to take such dreadful risks?